Hey guys, it's Tiny Logan back with another video for you. Today we're actually going to be taking another look at something we covered previously, which is the Aria Dominator system that we did before. Specs are all pretty much the same, but I just want to try and explain something, the reason why we're giving it another look. Aria have recently moved over, or they've done a deal with MSI to start using MSI cards in their system builds. So rather than the Gigabyte 560, they're now using the MSI 560 with a twin Frozr cooler on it. So it's not a massive change by any stretch of the imagination. But because they're now using those cards, I've kind of wanted to do 560 SLI for a little while. So I had a word with MSI and they got them to ship me a pair of the 560s. So I've taken the Gigabyte card out of this, put the two 560s in, and we're basically going to be doing a fresh look at this, but with the two 560s. Now, obviously if you were to buy the Aria rig, which is still 1,099 quid, you'd get one. So you would have to pay that extra kind of just over 200 quid more to get that second card, which a lot of you, it's kind of, it's getting into, you're going to be looking at about, what we 11, about 1,350 quid in total. But that's obviously, you've still got the 4.7 gigahertz overclock on the 2500k, you still get your 8GB memory, just buying that extra card. Now this could be something that you did further down the line if you wanted to, or you buy the rig, you know you're going to want a dual card set up, so you buy the other rig at the same time. Technically, really, if you think about it, you could end up getting your rig and a 24-inch monitor for £1,500, which is, it's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not, but it's still good money for the amount of performance that you're going to get out of it. So, yeah, we're going to crack on with this. Like I said, it's something different, and it's something that I've wanted to do personally, and it's something that a few of you out there have asked me about 560 SLI in the past. You've also asked me about a second card upgrade for this rig specifically. So I thought, you know what, hey, I had a couple of hours spare, so I've dug it all back out again, arranged the cards. We'll just give it a fresh look. But anyway, let's have a good look at the system, then we'll do all the benches and all that kind of stuff, as we always do, and then I'll wrap it all up at the end. So, yes, let's crack on. So then, just a quick reminder of the system. It's the Aria Dominator rig, 1TB Samsung storage, 64GB Kingston V Plus solid state drive, or Kingston V100 solid state drive, I do apologise. Then we've got the MSI P67A GD55 motherboard, Intel i5 2500k with an overclock to 4.7 GHz. Then we've got 8GB of Kingston Blackline RAM, 1600 MHz, 99924, Geely Tranquilo CPU cooler. Aria have just started using the MSI twin Frozr 560 graphics card, and for this test we're going to be running a pair. I tested this previously when it had the Gigabyte cards in. So we're just taking another look at it, but we're going to run it with a pair. So for example, if you had bought the system, as I'm going to explain, if you had bought the system, this is what it performed like if you stuck a second 560 in for a performance boost. All in all, a very tidy and good looking rig. I will admit, the solid state drive is normally in there fixed. I borrowed that bracket for the Assassin rig that I did, and literally while I was making this video I've only just remembered, so that normally is fixed in place. This is because of me. Anyways, that's what we're all here to have a look at and watch. Two 560s and the SLI. You've been asking me for a long time, so I took the excuse to do it with this one. Right then guys, first batch of tests, the P scores. You got a P score of 7,990 in 3D Mark 11. And then if we bump over, we got a 40,171 on 3D Mark Vantage with a GPU score of 35,439. Now it's time for some extreme tests. Right then, on to the extreme. 3D Mark 11, we got 2,392 3D Mark points. 3D Mark Vantage in extreme or X mode, we got 19,273. That was with an 18,577 GPU score. But it's got to be time for some gaming. Right then guys, Alien vs Predator benchmark. Fraps is running in the top left hand corner of the screen. Over 100 frames a second there at the moment. Lowest I've seen so far, I've got to admit, has been 55 frames a second on this. Right then guys, on to Metro. See the frames a second up in this top corner here. It's 70 frames a second at the moment. 66, 65. Well, down to this in the 60s anyway, rather than me reading it out continuously. Just got down to the mid 40s then for a split second. Up in the mid 50s again now. .60 frames a second. That's it. Now it's time for some Crysis. Well, a different bit of Crysis to usual, as you've probably already realised, because we're on the different rig. See the frames second up in this top left hand corner, playing 1920 by 1200, and we are also playing at 16 times Q and enthusiast setting, so everything's maxed out. The cards are at stock as well, by the way. I'm just coming this way to do something different for a change. Looking for the big bada boom bombs. Do, 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 do. Oh. Watch the frames per second when I let this one rip. I'm sure there's some more bombs around here somewhere. Maybe not. you're wondering why it seems a little bit stuttery, it's where I've got it on 16x Q resolution. The cards are, the 560 was a bit iffy with it, so by adding a second one it doesn't necessarily take away it's struggling with those details. If you drop it back to 8 then it's completely fine and it plays fine, but I wanted to max it out to give you an idea. In fact, what I'll do now, just quickly, just to show you. Put it on 8 times now. Might as well go this way now. Oh, it's not letting me right.
No, mate, you're on ground support duty. We've got a KPA base to take out. What's the earliest ETA? About 10 minutes. Then we proceed as planned. Mark my targets. Keep clear of that roadblock, Psycho. I'm gonna lay down some ordnance. Roger that. Just don't make me another friendly fire statistic. Now that's a hit.
Just give you an idea of the pretty sure that's the end of this level if I go across that roadblock. Doo-doo-doo. Anyway guys, you get the idea, don't you? Right then, that's the end of all the dodgy gameplay by me. That's the end of all of the benchmarks and everything that you always want to see. And to wrap up, I mean, let's be frank, 40,000 3D mark points from a rig that is like 1,300 quid is absolutely mental. I mean, to put it into perspective, that's kind of borderline in what I was getting with the 590 and the overclock and everything that I had on my 950 rig. But when you're kind of thinking about the sort of money that you've spent on this, the 590 is fairly expensive card. You look at about 579. I mean, you can have a pair of these cards for under 500 nicker. I know you need the, you're going to need the power supply and everything to back it up, but it's just kind of like giving you options out there, and I'm just trying to give you as much information as I possibly can. It all stayed relatively quiet, it all looks nice in the rig. It's it does provide you a lot of performance for the money. Something I do need to mention, and it's something I did on purpose, was show you that the 560s really don't like the maximum details on Crysis. They never did when we did the original testing either. As a single card it was a bit unplayable. I wanted to show you with it as a double card because it's just when you're trying to cram all those extra details in, adding that second card, it does make it better, but you still get a bit of stuttering and stuff like that, so it's not completely cured it. But with enthusiast settings and then 8x AA, which I might as well admit is the maximum that they actually support in Crysis Warhead with any of the AMD cards anyway. But anyway, we were getting like way over 50 minimum. Very immensely playable, and you still get all those texture settings, but just not without the extra AA and everything like that. And it was an absolute corker. So I'm very, very pleasantly surprised. And another thing I need to mention with this as well, because of the way the motherboard on this is set up, the cards were both running at 8x lanes as well. We've still got immense amounts of performance. Now this is something I've not really covered a massive amount in the past, and I've got to admit, I always prefer, personally, for my cards to be set on we'll get my words out. I do prefer my cards, personally, to be set on 16x lanes. But generally that's because I'm a bit of an X58 nut. But for all of those of you out there that are just looking for cheap upgrades and stuff like that, I can definitely see that there are kind of areas that I may need to do some more testing on. Or more thorough testing on in the future, I should say. But as far as the performance out of this rig for this, just over 1,300 quid, it's absolutely mind-blowing. 40,000 3D Mark P points, and then when we turned it up to extreme, we were still getting 20,000. You were looking at way over 7,000 for P scores and 3D Mark 11 as well. So it's got some seriously big kahunas hanging down underneath it. Without a seriously big price tag. Now I know this is quite specific, and it's a system that I've got from a retailer, but what you need to bear in mind is you don't necessarily have to think about this as a retailer review, because this is not something that Aria have asked me to do or anything like that. It's just something I've taken upon myself to test, and I've used their system. But if you are looking to buy components and stuff like that, you can use this as a basis for that. So you can use this information in whatever way you see fit. But I have got to say, really, considering I've used their rig, the build quality of the rigs at Aria are probably the best systems that I've ever had my hands on. We've had a few, and they've from other different retailers, and there's no point in mentioning them, but they've been a bit iffy. And the Aria rigs, I've quite, willingly pulled them apart, trying to find faults, and there's a few kind of like cabling issues sometimes, but that's just me and we all know that I'm immensely picky when it comes to cases and builds. So the fact that I didn't say they were bad was great in the first place. So yeah, if you've got the Aria Dominator rig, or you're thinking about getting the Aria Dominator rig, you've got nice upgrade paths. I mean, look at the extra performance that you got just by chucking a second graphics card in, and you could do this 6 or 8 or 12 months further down the line. You're still going to be able to get 560s. But if you are a real hardcore gamer and you like to razz your settings and everything right up to the max, then you could budget in that second card, have some SLI goodness, bosh it in there, fit it, forget about it, and you're going to have an absolute powerhouse to play all your latest games on. So yes, I'm going to leave that with you. You can do with it as you see fit. I have a fair few more system kind of based stuff for you coming up. I've been looking at other avenues to try and kind of do different things in. Mainly because I do like to see when, if I do something a little bit differently, how many other people then take it upon themselves to do it as well, but it makes me chuckle. Anyway, absolutely stonking. I don't need to award it because it's just a video for you guys and something that I wanted to have a bit of a play with. Keep your eyeballs peeled for other videos coming up. I've got some stuff to make you laugh, but if you found my videos for the first time, please subscribe. and don't forget to drop me a comment underneath as well. Anyway, for now at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with a bit of a different video for you. Out.